Welcome back to the world of ball games. We're learning the rules of a new ball game. Players traditionally learn how to play by reading the game instructions written in booklets or discuss house rules between players. However, our previous research demonstrated that players found learning rules to be time-consuming and frustrating, which impacted their enjoyment of playing. We also found that players tried to use other digital tools like their smartphone for help when they got stuck in the learning process. So we decided to explore how we could use these digital tools to help players to learn and memorize the game rules effectively and efficiently. We initially explored literature about the structure of game rules, human learning styles, memory structure, attention, learning stages, and the relationship between learnability, memorability, and user behavior. Firstly, game rules consist of a four-layer structure: operational rules that guide players through the game elements, constitutive rules that are the underlying logical and mathematical structures of the game, implicit rules that relate to personal experience and strategies created by players for enjoyment. Game designers should focus on explaining operational rules to players in their game tutorial. They also need to carefully consider which rules are introduced to players using different mediums, as there are time and budget constraints. Secondly, tutorials should attract players and keep them focusing on gameplay so that they can both learn the game rules efficiently and enjoy the game process. Finally, having a shorter knowledge-based learning stage can be beneficial because having this stage run longer can be boring without an interesting tutorial. One way to address this could be through the interactive elements of mixed reality technologies. MRTech offers players a more interactive experience by helping them to more directly engage in the learning process, which could help overcome those limitations of the knowledge-based learning stage. This is because players may be more satisfied from the novel experience of using MR and therefore concentrate more on learning the game rules and enjoying gameplay. We wanted to answer the question of how can designers use digital tools to enhance learnability and memorability of game rules for a board game. To do this, we analyzed the interview transcripts from 18 board game designers and published it through thematic analysis. The interviewees have authority in the board game industry and have significant experience in designing physical, digital, or hybrid board games. They were able to provide a broader overview on the development of the board game industry compared with hobby players. We coded the transcripts with memos, and the codes are synthesized into several themes to be discussed. We identified 4 themes from the transcripts: game factors, digital tools, learning methods, physical games with digital tools. Interviewees emphasized the importance of balancing social communication and the use of digital rules, balancing game immersion and relaxation, and balancing player flexibility and digital assistance, because these are all necessary features in the gameplay, but they can be opposite to each other. They also suggested giving players some choices to use their preferred rules and providing players with proper game environment so that players gain more flexibility and have a better learning experience. Regarding digital tools, maturity and popularity of the chosen tool will influence the learning experience because players will inherently trust the digital tool that is widely used, and so if a tool is not as developed, designers will have difficulty convincing players to adopt the tool in their game learning process. They need to keep in mind that the price of these tools may be too expensive for some players though, even if they have high usability. Interviewees highlighted effective learning methods that designers should consider, which involve combining different learning tools so that players can choose their preferred approaches. The tutorial should gradually teach the rules so that players can keep them in deep memory. Digital board games have some drawbacks such as a lack of flexibility or version updating issues, which means that designers should not rely too heavily on digital tools to teach game rules. At last, we conclude a brief model that might be useful for game designers when they try to build a learning system for their board game. Before game designers choose the system tools, they have to consider whether their game rules are complex or simple for game players to learn. They should use more tools of different types when it's complex and fewer when simple. Then they need to consider all game factors so that they can make sure that the tutorial will give players a better experience for the game factors they value more. In addition, using digital tools to help players learn game rules should not come at the expense of adhering to established learning methods. In future, we will explore more about digital tools and their attributes, which could influence the learning experience.